On October 17, 1974, Robert Berchtold offered to pick up Jane Broberg, his young neighbor, from her piano lessons in Pocatello under the pretext of taking her for horseback riding. To begin with, her mother was anxious, since it was a school night after all, but eventually agreed, as before long as she was within the car, Berchtold drugged Jane and organized a sorta fake capturing to see just like the two of them had been taken. In reality, Berchtold had taken Jane to Mexico, where the two got hitched at the time. The legitimate age to wed in Mexico was 12. Jan didn't grasp much of this right absent, as she was managing with greater issues. Whereas she was with Berchtold, she was brainwashed by means of a tape recorder and given a mission. Jan was told that she was assumed to spare an outsider race by having a child with Berchtold, and she required to do this by age 16, or one of her sisters would have to do it, or her family individuals would go days, or die. Dreading for her life and her sister's life, Jane and Berchtold
had sex.
He began to flirt with Marianne and invited her to a church retreat at Logan, Utah. According to Marianne, they became a little too close, and the seeds of what would become a long-term relationship were planted. It was around this time that Berchtold went for a ride with Bob Broberg, where Bob was complaining about his lack of intimacy with his wife, and Berchtold became sexually excited. Robert asked him to give him some relief, and Bob agreed, allowing Berchtold to gain control over them all. Berchtold would later admit that he had a
homosexual relationship
with Marianne's father in order to gain access to John. "I don't know why I did it, but I did it," Berchtold said. Inevitably, Berchtold needed to return back to the joined-together states, but required the Broberg family to concur to the marriage and arrange to cross the border. The Broberg family did not concur, and instead flew to Mexico to retrieve their girl. After returning to the U.S. himself, Berchtold was charged with kidnapping. Jan, confounded and clearly not considering clearly, accepted that she was really in a door with Berchtold. In spite of the fact that the two were not assumed to be together, they would type in letters and conversation on the phone. Whereas she was at domestic, and as far as anyone knows, secure and sound, the brainwashing tape recorder returned to Jane amid the night. She accepted that she still had a mission to do. She and Berchtold
had sex,
committing statutory assault, different times. The Brobergs' home life declined, and inevitably Marianne had an undertaking with Berchtold. It kept going for nearly a year until they broke it off. In the interim, Berchtold was up on seizing charges, and Berchtold's wife, Gail, used the undertaking data to extortion the Brobergs into reducing the charges. Berchtold was sentenced to serve a long time in prison, but that was afterward dropped to 45 days. Within the conclusion, he went through generally 10 days in jail. Afterward, within the summer of 1976, Jan ran absent from domestic, clearing out both her family and Berchtold troubled. Be that as it may, the FBI was persuaded that Berchtold knew where she was, so they put reconnaissance on him. In the long run, in November, it came to light that Berchtold had captured Jan back in imminent of that same year. Berchtold, who was presently living in Salt Lake City, Utah, had enlisted Jane at an all-girls Catholic school in Pasadena, California. He told the school that he was CA, which they were on the run. In an effort to keep Jan covered up absent, he clarified that if anyone came trying to find Jan, they were the bad guys. The FBI reached the school, but they were hesitant to reveal Jane's information, accepting what Berchtold had told them was genuine. The FBI was able to induce Jane out of the school and brought her back domestic to Idaho. Berchtold was charged with capturing once more. While in prison the primary time, Berchtold persuaded two folks he would pay the $1,000 to burn down the Broberg store, which the two folks did. The Brobergs presently dreaded for their lives. Berchtold was at that point brought to trial once more for, to begin with, degree seizing, but was not indicted. Instead, he was sentenced to a mental office in 1997. He was released 6 months afterward. It's as it was when Jan at long last turned 16 that she realized that the mission she was on this entirety time was possibly fake. Jan inquired her guardians to go a theater camp for the summer, whereas absent from domestic, John begun to address on the off chance that these outsiders were genuine or not. She concocted a arrange to carry out the rest of the mission herself, in which she'll murder herself and her sister Karen. Inevitably, Jan gets the sense that her life is fine and that these aliens are not genuine. She tells this to her guardians, and the family begins to mend the wounds caused by Berchtold. Jan and her mother begin composing a book, Stolen Blamelessness, the John Broberg story, and in the long run embark on a talking visit. Berchtold starts showing up at these occasions and talking to the media and arrange to close this down, saying that what the two are spreading are lies. Jane, at that point, recorded a stalking charge, and Berchtold challenged it. In the end, Jan was allowed a limiting arrange against Berchtold for the rest of his life. In 2005, Berchtold got into a battle with a bunch of bikers against child manhandle individuals and was charged with 3 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. He was found blameworthy and was planned to be sentenced, but didn't want to go to prison. His brother clarifies within the narrative that he overdosed on his possessed pharmaceutical, enduring death by suicide.